You are live, ma'am.
All right, y'all, we about to jump into it.
London Ear Art.
Okay, yeah.
All right, so we're gonna jump right into it. Welcome to the special edition of Sunday Sip with Sisters, even though it is Thursday. But what we try to do, we do a lot of talking on Sunday. Some of y'all on there with us, and we have a lot of Black women running for offices, and that's been a long time. Like, we haven't really had it in a long time. Like, for instance, a couple of weeks back, we just lost a Black woman who's a former city council member. First elected, yeah. That's right, because Callie wasn't. That's right, she was appointed. Yeah. Then a couple of months before that, Miss Callie Cooney died. Yep. And then a couple of years back, we had Miss Bonnie Purnell. So now we have all of this Black woman energy running for office, and I just feel like because of the way Sacramento's set up, you never sometimes because either you got to be in the know, but you never. It's not like we live in Black communities where people come through and talk to you. Mm-hmm. So this was my attempt at doing something very old school where I can pull together some Black women so we could talk to them about their campaign and see if they're the type of woman we should be supporting. Like, ask them what their stance is. I'm not gonna lie, my biggest thing is safety and housing, but not affordable housing. I'm talking about home ownership. Because I feel like in order to get Black people, some of us out of this slump, we gotta own where we live. You can't be paying $2,500 for rent, and you don't get no equity out of that. So that's my big thing I make you hear and talk about. But I want to know what y'all thing is. And like these two sisters, since they're the ones that are here, are they the right ones we should be pumping and sharing on our Facebook? And like, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm pretty excited about this because I like to hear what people's platforms are. So, and I also talk and share a lot with people about who we should be, I'm Team Flo, but I have to act like I'm being neutral. So I want to know, but before we get started, let's just go around real quick, since there's not a lot of us, and just say like your name and maybe like why you came here. Like, why did you want to come here? These two sisters kind of speak. Come on in, ladies.
Hi. Come on in.
Miss Damaris, I didn't know you were doing.
So you can feel free to get on any chair other than those two. We thought y'all wasn't kind of bothering you. Good evening, good evening. And still, we want to put your purse over here?
You want to sit at either one. It's up to you. You can sit wherever you want to sit.
Put my purse on the floor.
I'm sorry, please forget. Oh, Kelly! It took me a minute. Hold on, I only see you on Facebook in your picture.
Oh, that's Kelly.
Yes, it took me.
Oh, that's what she did, Kelly.
She knew my soul.
Me too. That's why I was like, oh, that's
Because I only see most of these people on Facebook. You see what I'm saying? So I'll be like, you had that one picture you've been having on there for 5 years. And then you show up, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay, ladies, we gonna go around. We're gonna say your name and like what you represent or what your name or what brought you here. Let's start like that. I'm gonna start with you. You right across.
I know. I told you that. My name is Tiffany Pitts. I'm here. I was invited by Miss Rowe and Khadijah.
We're glad you're here.
I am currently suing my landlord, and so I have. I'm looking to see what your point of view action is for some of the things that I'm enduring and going through. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you.
All right. Well, my name is Tina McLean, and what brought me here was the invite from Rolanda. And then also, I just want to come out and hear what your plan is for the city. And I felt like I just needed to get off of Facebook and come have a conversation in person.
My name is Christy, and I'm founder of the Sacramento Sister Circle.
Hey. I'm Khadijah, and I'm here to just get some insight. And I didn't know that you were running. I knew of Dr. Flo, but some of the women didn't even know they were running. So that's why I'm here. And Damaris, I'm so glad to see you. Okay.
And I'm Tanya Brown. I was invited by Khadijah and Rolanda. I came because of their invite, but I'm really here to see what you guys are about. You know, what you guys are standing on. My number one thing is the kids in the community, the homeless in the community, education, and of course, the way we're getting, people are getting paid.
Yep.
So I just want to see where you guys stand when it comes to that.
My name is Sybil. I was invited by Khadijah and Yolanda. I currently work with the homeless and have for quite a while. I see a lot of gatekeeping, a lot of disparity within our community. So, trying to see where you guys, lay when it comes to that. And also, I noticed that when you see a lot of the running, there's the public mask. So I wanted to be able to talk in a forum where those masks were not up and have a true conversation and see, what you guys are thinking and what your plans are for Summerland.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Maris Canton. I was also invited by the sisters. And I'm here basically because I'm interested in knowing, and I already know some of your views on education, but making sure that all of our families are getting a quality education, because there's such disparity from school to school and curriculum to curriculum. So I'm really interested in making sure that our youth have opportunities for success.
I'm not Rolanda. Oh, so Rolanda Wilkins, Sunday Simple Sisters, Earth Mother Healing. And I'll be honest with y'all, I want to have this conversation, but I do have some views that I have some opinions, but I have some concerns that I never hear during elections. Like, I want to hear what you got for single people, what you got for middle class women, what do you have for people who want to have safety where they live? Like, I want to know about that group. So that's why I'm doing it, because I want to all know. But I feel like I never hear anything about that, because we assume that group is okay. And they're drowning right now. The middle class is disappearing faster than we know. Okay, so, we gotta get to you before we get to
I know. I'm Kelly Cooper. I'm the nosy when I come everywhere where I'm not supposed to be known. I got invited by Rolanda, and she always has me on her little hot topic. So I have a nonprofit called Sisters Without Walls. It's a reentry program for young girls between 19 and 27 to not let them go to jail or prison because of a fall from a man or whatever it is. And so kids get on my nerves. I don't know why I had them, but they on my nerves, but they're interesting. And so I always want to get their views, because these two women are a very big piece of that component. Veronica she's so soft spoken, but she's so dominant. I'm like, this come out this little bitty body. And then Flo's like, she just got everybody by the neck like this. I'm like, I gotta follow them wherever they go. Like, she holding on to everybody. I'm like, how do you have two people both at the same time? And then she had a debate last night. She got a book. I'm like, oh, I really gotta follow her now. So I'm just interested to see about the views that they have, and I'm just excited Black women are running.
Yay,
So, ladies, we would like to know a little bit about your background and why did you decide to run now? So it's up to y'all. Hold on, before y'all go there, y'all, you just walked in, you gotta say your name. No, just say your name and what you hear.
Okay, so I am Mariana, but if you love me and you want to put some stank on it, you'll say Mariana. My mom just told me all my life I've been saying my name wrong. I'm a social wellness leader and facilitator in the community, both here in the region and branching out globally. That's what I do and who I be. So
I know.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, well, hi everyone. I am Flo. I am running for mayor of Sacramento. And I'm really excited to be the first Black woman to run for mayor of Sacramento. This has been kind of a long time coming, but I think it's important for you to know a little bit about me in order to understand why I'm running. So I am the daughter of two public school teachers. My mom taught 8th grade English and my dad taught 8th grade math. That's actually how they met. It's a very cute meet cute. And in my community, I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the same neighborhood that August Wilson wrote his 10th Century series, Fences and the like about. And in my community, we really took care of each other. And that was what I learned from my parents. So if there was anybody in the community who, was thinking about applying to college, they would ring our doorbell. They just knew you could ring the doorbell, you sit at our dining room table, and my parents would help you with your college applications. And as you were on your way out the door, one of them will be yelling, now tell your mom or your dad or your auntie or your grandma to call me so we can work on those financial aid applications and FAFSA too, right? That was the relationship. But it wasn't just one way. It also meant that these were the same people who were babysitting me and who would help fix things around our house and who were involved in our community because we took care of each other. And unfortunately, when I was 11, we were at my aunt's birthday dinner, and my dad collapsed and died from heart disease. And that experience really shaped me. I didn't want anybody else to ever experience what I did. And I went into public health because I wanted to maximize the number of years in our life and the amount of life in our years. You know, my dad started smoking at a time when the tobacco lobby lied about the harms of cigarettes and heavily marketed in Black communities. And so he died at 47. And that denied me and my mom and him the years in his life and the years together that we all deserved. And so that was the first part of my story. That's why I went to public health. But looking back on it now, I also recognize that there were also policies that helped to protect me in the aftermath of that. My public school offered me individual and group grief counseling. So I was able to help navigate one of the worst experiences of my life. And my mom was able to still continue to afford our home on a public school salary. And so I also experienced the worst of what systems have to offer when they don't exist and when they're not protective, and the best of what systems have to offer when they do exist and they are protective. And so I moved to Sacramento about 20 years ago to do a fellowship at the Department of Public Health. And one of my first and earliest accomplishments here was helping to get birth control included with no copay in Obamacare. And that was my first experience of realizing, like, I hadn't come to the realization of all these policies that had protected me yet. That was my first realization that, wow, this system can actually work for regular people, not just people who spend money on it and have moneyed interests. And so, you know, because I came from a community of people who got involved, I got involved. And so I joined the Active Transportation Commission for the city, and then I worked on the Mayor's Climate Commission, and then I became the chair of the Measure U Committee for 4 terms. And it was at that point that a lot of foolishness started happening in the city. And I got to see behind the curtain all the ways that we could have done things differently, but we didn't. All of the opportunities that were missed that could have really benefited our communities. And I felt frustrated. And so I decided to run for mayor because I felt like we have 2 options right now. We are at a critical juncture. You know, 10 years ago, we had a quarter of the people we now do who were experiencing homelessness. We have seen so many things change, and this place is at the critical juncture where it can either be affordable and serve all of us, or it's going to become, you know, we're going to go off the rails. And I looked around and I was like, I don't want to do the same thing we've always done. Everyone I'm running against has been in office overseeing this and not doing anything effective to change it. And they're recycling those same ideas and repackaging them to you now because they need a job. They've either turned out of the legislature or are about to, or lost their city council seat for not doing a good job, and now we're back saying, hey, I'd like to fail up in the great grand white tradition. So I don't think that's the way that our city should be run. And so that's why I am running for mayor of Sacramento, because I think we can do a lot better. I bring a public health approach. I think about systems, and systems are perfectly designed to get the outcomes they do. It's not a fault, it's a feature that people sleep on the street. It's a feature that we're not doing better. It's a feature that we don't have the safety that we deserve in our communities. And I don't think I think more is possible. That's why it's my slogan. And I think we should not continue to choose a future that doesn't work for us. Nobody here seems happy or with the way things are going. And so that means it's all made up and we can make up something different. And so that's what I'm inviting everyone to be part of this People Power campaign to do. That's why I'm not taking corporate PAC money. That's why I'm not taking law enforcement money, because I want to really be able to come in and transform these systems and not be beholden to the interests that keep us stuck exactly where we are.
Don't talk about that.
I'm Veronica Smith, and I'm running for Sacramento City Council District 2, which, if elected, would be the first African American woman to hold this seat. I think prior to me, there were 2 African American men to hold the seat, but never an African American woman. I'm not even sure that an African American woman has ever run prior to this current term. And so my background is a little bit different than Flo's. I moved here about 33 years ago from Ohio. Came here with my mother, with my 2 older sisters. So I'm the youngest of 3 girls. So we came here to Sacramento from Akron, Ohio. My mom came here because her sisters were here. They migrated here from Bay Minette, Alabama. So they married men in the military. And so that's how my mom is one of 11. So they ended up here. My mom divorced from my dad, and that is how I ended up here in Sacramento. So raised by a single mother, youngest of two, youngest of three, went to high school at Valley High School, middle school at Fern Bacon, Clayton B. Wire Elementary School for 1 year. So went on to Sac State to do my undergraduate degree, National University to do my MBA. And so throughout all of that, I kind of followed in my mother's footsteps to a degree, became a young mother. So having my daughter, 19, 20 years old. So stumbling through college with the daughter, went on to work for the County of Sacramento, economic development. So that's really where I got my passion and my love for community and economic development, and got my first exposure to North Sac while living in South Sacramento. So through all of that, young mom, married the man that I met while in high school, who was much older than me. I was a young girl, gets involved with this older guy. Both of my kids are by this person. And so I've stumbled, through life. And so for me, I didn't have a family who was civically engaged. I didn't have a mother or father telling me that it was important to make sure that I participated in elections. I didn't vote. The first time that I voted was when President Obama was on the slate. And that's when I really started paying attention, because I wasn't taught. My mom did the best that she could with what she had, coming from a small town in Alabama. And I appreciate her and love her for that. Same with my grandmother. But I didn't know. So it's like what I stumbled upon in the life that I've been able to make for myself and for my children is not what I had, because it's not where we came from. And so fast forward, I have another child. So I have a daughter and a son now by this man that I met when I was in high school, that I would ultimately marry, divorce, reinvent myself, start from scratch as a single mom, stumbling through. And I'm gonna continue to say that, stumbling through, because I just come from a different side of the track, in a different life. And so fast forward, Obama is on the slate. Kevin Johnson gets elected to mayor, Alan Warren, Rick Jennings. And so I'm a young girl at the time working for the County of Sacramento in economic development, and I'm looking at what's happening in the city of Sacramento. And so it really changed. It changed something in me. It sparked something in me. And I had the opportunity to apply to work for the city of Sacramento Economic Development Department. Didn't get the job the first time, but then they circled back and was like, hey, we interviewed you. At this time, I'm going through a divorce. I'm closing a business. I'm trying to, set up shop as a single mom, no longer with a 2-income household. So all of these things are going on, and I get a call, and then I get the opportunity to go to work for the city of Sacramento. And I end up working in economic development, and they assigned me to work with Alan Warren. Didn't know this man from Adam, and I'm like, I don't want to work with you. That's not what I want to do. I want to work on the arena, and I want to work on these. But long story short, I end up getting assigned to work in District 2. And then that's where I went from working in more suburban settings to inner city settings. And that's 2013. So I have the opportunity to be employed for the city manager, but working with an African-American council member in District 2, and working with the former mayor, Kevin Johnson, probably because I was Black. It just happened to be working in a white male-dominated space in economic development. And they were like, let's just send her there. I didn't want to do it. It was a blessing. So a lot of people don't know how long I've been working in District 2 and how I got my start in working in North Sacramento. And so fast forward, I worked 6 years with the city of Sacramento, had the opportunity to quit, to just work for myself as a consultant, to do community and economic development consulting for myself. Had the opportunity to get a call to come back and work for Councilmember Malloy, who was the council member who stepped down from this, who resigned from this District 2 seat. The relationships that I formed with community members, the community came to me and said, Veronica, would you be willing to step in to run for this seat? Never had an interest in politics because it's dirty. It's, as we all know, as we've seen things play out, never had an interest, especially when my kids were younger. But for me, I'm going into a different, I'm transforming into a different person, into a different era and paradigm of myself as a woman and in my career. So for me, it was now or never. So I was looking at the County Board of Supervisor seat, which is where I started my career. Decided that I did not want to run against Phil Cerna. At the same time, the community was coming to me saying, would you consider this? And I told the community members that came to me, well, if I consider this, will y'all commit to standing with me and not leaving me in the dust, knowing all of the hurdles that I have in front of me, considering the last two people who held this seat. And so that is how things kind of came full circle. And at the final hour, I decided to put my name on that ballot and run for this seat in partnership with the people who have not had representation, proper representation in that district in forever, since it's been a district in the city of Sacramento. So that's a little bit about me.
All right. Okay, thank you. Okay, ladies, so this is like, for those who just walked in, we're kind of talking like people would do back in the day when people came to your grandmama's house and she was sitting around with her friends and they were running for office, and they really, because they're, what a lot of people don't understand in a lot of these urban communities, I'm from Philadelphia, so Philly, you may see some commercials, but really they be at people's neighborhoods and on the door, because that's where the power is. Sacramento's a little different because we don't necessarily have neighborhoods like this is a black neighborhood, like we don't really have that out here. So you have, and we're spread out. And we also in different backgrounds, and we're in different phases of our life. But I still believe that if you, like, y'all wanted some points because you showed up.
That part.
See, that's what I was
Big
trying to look at, who
points.
showed up, one. And two, when I heard your story, I can relate to that because I'm tired of career politicians. I am. And I ain't going in front of y'all. I sometimes don't vote for black politicians because they act like they have to give nothing to us. They think their representation is our reward. Nope. I absolutely don't want that. So that, but I know you, I've been working with you for years. And I hear your story too. And I'm glad you're here because one of the concerns I had is, what do you do when you've been working under people and they haven't been straight? And then, because it was your job. Like, I worked for some people that was crazy, right? But then you like, yeah, I was with them, but that's not me. Like, I mean, all of us work in areas that people want by our bosses. We probably wouldn't get the next promotion we deserve because people think you was with them. How do you navigate that? Because District 2 is very interesting. Because people think of El Paso Heights, but it's more than El Paso Heights. That's usually the first thought. But how do you deal with that?
I think for me, it's pretty easy for me to deal with it because I'm not new to the community. And there's so many people that I've been there helping who know what I've done, who are my validators. Okay. So it would be different. Like, I'm not the person who decided to just run to be somebody's protector or their savior. Gotcha. There's people there that can validate what I've done for them and not posted it on social media. Not like that's not who I am or what I'm about. And so that's why it was easy for me, not easy, because it's never hard it's never easy to run for office, but it was a different pathway for me because the people there know my truth. And then there's also those there who know what I know because I've been there with the last two council members. Gotcha. So it's a double-edged sword. So there's those who know that how I've been there behind the scenes helping them navigate. And there's also the players there who know that I've been there. So they know what I know about them and what they've been doing that's continuing to keep the community behind.
Gotcha. Okay. Before we go any further and get y'all questions in, please share this because it's on those who tune in, just share them with your family. We want them to know about these two sisters. We are our own best advocate. So tag your friends, tag whoever, they can watch it later now. But we got to make sure the people that we know who may not necessarily be connected know these two sisters. You know what I'm saying? So who wants to start with your question? That just sparked that. What you got, Miss Christy Ketchum?
Veronica and Flo, I would both of you to discuss the specific attacks, the ways in which the conversations, all the kind of the negativity that we've been seeing. How have you been able to navigate some of that negativity? Do you feel like you've been supported? Did the community actually, are they supporting you? Like, I would love to hear your authentic experience running as a candidate, and the first Black ladies of this and that. Like, I would love to hear, because a lot of us don't want to run. I commend you. I will do nothing but support you, because just the fact that you decided to do that, you deserve my whole support for that. Unless you crazy, like, you gonna get my support. So I want to hear your real authentic experience as you're navigating through some of the muddiness of politics. You can go, Flo.
It's a really great question, Christy. And what I will say is, I've been Black my whole life, so I'm not surprised when things happen. It's more so like, oh, I didn't know it was gonna be you, right? It was a big story, but we really hustled when we first announced the campaign to do fundraising, as candidates are encouraged to do. And there was some confusing language in the city, in the city rules about when the primary election period started. So we reached out to the city 6 or 7 times. We consulted an attorney. They were like very clear, this is what it says. And I knew something really important about this. I knew that I was going to be judged by how much money I raised when that first reporting came out. There were people who were like, oh, it's interesting that she's running. Is this a nothing burger or not? And in fact, some of the people I was running against even were really nice to me at first, because they were like, she's gonna run, her little crew is gonna be excited for her, and then she's gonna flame out and not continue, and then those people can get my support. So it wasn't until the fundraising report came out that I had out fundraised all of them, that then I must have done something wrong. And the challenge, the double-edged sword there was, there could have been a cap, and I knew I had to be right, because otherwise I was gonna get slammed for it. But I also knew that if I mistakenly thought the cap was lower than it was and didn't raise money, people would say, she's not really serious. I don't know if we should get behind her. So that was the conundrum, right? And to have a non-responsive city when they knew that they had made a mistake, and could have just clarified the language with everybody, but they chose not to. So instead we had to go before the Ethics Commission, which cleared us and said, absolutely not. And the clerk even said, we made a mistake. These 2 dates don't line up. And you read the law as it should be read. But that, I think, was the first time. And to just have things be said about me. I think the disrespect that comes along is, it frequently happens. No one has ever referred to Richard Pan as Mr. Pan, but I get Ms. Kofer or Miss Flo all the time.
They did that last night.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that happens to me a lot. I also find that there is like this thread of treating me like I'm a child and like I don't know what I'm talking about, even though I'm not a child. And but again, all of these things, even when I walk in the room, people will start to tell me like, you're running a campaign, so you're gonna need to raise money. And I'm like, I'm 9 months into a campaign. Why are you people are talking to me I woke up yesterday and decided to run for mayor, not like I've been running a professional campaign for the last almost year, right? So it's some of those things where it's just like the assumption is, because you're learning about the campaign, that I'm learning how to do this as well. And so you should tell me what you know. But again, I've been a Black woman my whole life. So the condescension has always come along with the territory. The underestimation has always come along with the territory. And so I have felt very supported. I have felt like people have really had my back. and gone to bat for me and reached out and been like personally supportive. I know we live in a different era, and I'm sure this is probably true for you, because people ask me all the time, how am I doing? And am I getting rest? And how am I taking care of myself? And things that I don't think we always asked each other, right? Those real questions about like, how are you doing as a human? And I can say I'm going to the gym, and I'm drinking my water, and I'm getting some sleep, and I'm having a little anxiety, so I'm trying to go to get a massage, and like, so I appreciate the fact that people are recognizing that this is a hard journey and taking time, especially the people who know me, to like check in on me as a person, not how's the campaign going. And so that makes me feel loved, and it also makes me feel like as a culture, we are moving in a different space of understanding.
Well, if you know anything about North Sacramento, it has, but thank God I have thick skin. And so we go through things that we go through to prepare us for things that we will be up against. And so I think one of the most challenging, and I don't know if challenging is the word, when it is people that look like you that are coming for you the hardest, and they know nothing about you, or they're coming from a place of trauma and from a place of hurt. And so while it's supposed to be an attack to bring me down, I just feel bad for our people, because that is who it is that are coming for me left and right, not questioning my capability, my skills, where I've been, not taking the time to get to know my journey and my story, but you just coming for me because of whatever reason. And so that's been fill in the blank. I don't even know. I don't even have a word for it. Right. Yeah. So yes, you said what's up. So I think while I was going to the gym and drinking my water and all of that stuff, like at the end of the day, I'm just like cussing. I need a drink. These all the rocks. So that's how I'm decompressing. But I'm like, I gotta get back in it. So like I have my sister circle, the ones that have been there, the new ones, the ones that have come to my defense, who didn't know. Like there's women who we didn't always agree, but we didn't agree because we didn't take the time to get to know each other. And so it's like, for me, because I am a more quiet person behind the scenes, not out there like that, then people don't know. And when people don't know what you're thinking or what you're doing, then they can respond a variety of different ways. And I think that because I'm knowledgeable of that and I've like been there, done that, I don't take it personally. But it's like, I'm always like, well, let's sit down. Let's talk about it. Like, what do you think about me? What's the problem? What's the challenge? Let's talk about it. So that's who I am on a one-on-one basis. And that's how I've been able to get even more support in the community. Like Miss Kelly. So we didn't always but it's like, so, that's, it's been real. It's been trill.
Act like you don't start. She's like, yes, we can. Okay, well, I'll do it. Go over there.
Yeah, right.
Well,
that's what I got to say.
I got you.
Right. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, the other thing when Veronica said, it's people that you don't know, that's what's wild to me. It's like it's people that have never met you. Like the guy who wrote the ethics commission for me, we've never met in real life, but he spends an inordinate amount of time on Twitter talking about me, and we've never met in real life. It's wild to me that people have all of these like very strong opinions. Especially when they're not like, it's one thing if you have a strong opinion about something I've said or done, but you just have a general sense of like who someone is, I just find that to be so strange, because even celebrities who like, I have, listened to their entire albums, that like, I don't think I know Beyonce just because I've been to a few of her concerts.
Right.
Like, I'm very clear that is a stranger. Right? Anything about her life, I don't know, right? Like, and so to me, it's just this like over familiarity with people that you really don't know. We're not even like what? So that is wild, yeah. And it's like the strength of their convictions, where they're like, this person is this, and I'm like, you literally have never met me.
And not only that, they've never met you, but they're not clear on the issues. And rather than dealing with the issues, they will attack you.
Yes. Yes.
Rather than, let's get clear. Before I come against you, we might be on, like you said, we could be on the very same team, and we're fighting each other, and that's been an issue for us as women of color. Period. Because
let's be specific. As black women,
yes,
as
black
women.
Well, yeah. But it's that thing, like, and you sit there and they make their faces up, and the whole energy in the room is different, and it's like, why can't we smile at each other?
It's just a silent competition if I'm gonna be the head.
Right, and we are not getting anywhere. It's like craps, and I'm pulling you down, you pulling me down, as opposed to let's lift each other up. So I'm glad to see this, and thank you guys for doing it. But
I also think some of it is that people love women, particularly black women, our strength in holding up and being on the floor, but they don't like it when you try to be the ceiling. I'm trying to say it in a nice way. But what I'm saying is, like, Dr. Flo, you've been on every commission, every workshop, you made me look at Darth Vader differently. You know what I'm saying? And then you've been there doing your work with all these people, you're in the background. People love you like that. But the minute you try to go for that head seat, then it's like, wait a minute, you're supposed to be the floor we're walking on. You're supposed to be moving us forward. And that's what I think sometimes happens, whether it's other people that's a part of the party you belong to, because that's what shocked me with the dude. Like, he supported another black woman but couldn't support you, and y'all was in the same party. I caught that. It's like, no, I like her, but I don't know about you, because we like you just showing up for meetings. You know what I mean? And then some people be
Wait, I'm lost.
Yeah, I'm talking about the person who wrote the article.
Oh, okay.
I did this whole background, and I thought that was very interesting, because people do pick and choose us. That's why classism is so big between black people, that we don't even know to be like, this is not the time to do classism.
That part.
But let's talk about what you're going to do, because that's the other part, because we don't really always have an ask. We have like an attitude that we didn't have an ask, or thought we didn't need to do it, but this is our way of doing it. You see what I'm saying? But I think people are dependent on our divisive natures to keep you out of where you should be.
Right.
Because you qualified, you're more than qualified. Like,
and it's not a lot of
That's
there's
all
no
fair,
power
Mayor.
in,
You serious?
in one city council seat. That's
That
the people.
part.
There's no power or money, depending on what your trajectory of life and what your perspective of life. There's no power in one city council seat.
it's all the
if you
women.
break it down to the time that you're gonna spend doing the work, you'll probably be making 2 cents an hour.
Influence. I mean, I think it's like, there's that quote from Game of Thrones, power resides where people believe it does, right? And so there is also, like, on one hand, my frustration with the last 2 strong mayor proposals was like, I haven't seen you try to use the existing system for me to feel like it doesn't work and it needs to be changed. But also, I feel like sometimes that's just the way that, in particular men, unfortunately, they think this is a gendered, socialization, but the way that men view power. I'm weak unless I can unilaterally do something. Whereas we understand a strength that comes along with collaboration. We understand a strength that comes along with influence, right? And so like, when people are like, well, you're running, do you want to be strong there? I was like, the position is strong enough. I can call a press conference and everybody shows up. That's your influence. That's your, like, recognizing where the power levers are, I think, is really important. And I think sometimes people understand that and they pretend they don't. And then they try to gaslight you into sort of believing that things aren't real. They are. There is power, and also there is, like, challenge, right, to representing these seats. There's a lot of work, and you're not going to come in and just, like, burn the place down because you're one person, right? That's not the way things work. And so it's the hypocrisy and the frustration is that they're, like, telling you, like, you're not ready and you're not this and you're not that, while also telling you this doesn't really matter. And it's like, well, then why do you want it?
Yeah.
If it really doesn't matter, why do you want it? Right? And so, and a lot of it comes down to like people wanting to be in the mix and wanting to have their name in the, you know, and be a part of that and not really wanting to do the work.
Mhm.
So I'm not gonna ask y'all what your platforms are. I'm up here answering people. But I want y'all, because I said, oh, this my stance on education. And heck, no, I want to hear what y'all want them, like what their views are on something that is important to you. Because we also get lost a lot in the fluff. And then your question don't get answered. Like my question is, how are you gonna be helping the middle class?
Well, we need one in the first place.
Yeah, how does that work?
Yeah.
Seriously.
We don't get to that, right? Like if we're gonna talk about, like, let's talk about housing. We don't get to a middle class if you can't save up for a down payment for a house, right? And so when the cost of housing has gone up so much, but most people here work in the public sector and their incomes aren't going up 10% a year, but their rents can. So yes, you're right, home ownership matters. But what has happened is as the rents went up, the people who normally would rent to buy, right, rent, save up some money and buy, stayed renting because they weren't able to save up to buy. Right. And then the people who normally would have continued renting until they got maybe into a better position the rent went up, and so they never got there, right? And so some of them got displaced and are sleeping on our streets. Mm-hmm. And women over 55, and in particular Black women, are at incredibly high risk for losing our housing and for being overburdened by the cost of housing. So you're absolutely right. Middle class issues are incredibly important. And I'm saying right now, we're not looking at having a middle class if we continue to go down this road.
What can you do as mayor to help with that?
First and foremost, like, we need real rent control. If we had gotten, like, let's be clear, in 2020, well, actually leading up to 2020, there were options for us to be able to have real rent control. Yeah. Okay. And what happened was the city council at the time, which includes one of my current opponents, not only opposed having real rent control, but sued the person who eventually, in the group that eventually got the ballot Measure C on our ballot in 2020.
Who was that?
That was Michelle Parris. That was the whole council. They sued her.
No, I'm talking about who was that person?
Oh, Steve Hansen, who I'm running against, was on the council.
We want to know the name.
Yes, and Steve Hansen's running for mayor. He was on the council at the time, and the entire council, okay, sued Michelle because they didn't want Measure C to be on the ballot. And now he is trying to actively tell you that 9.3% a year is good enough because it used to be that the rents could go up 20 or 30%. But we had the option of them not going up that much.
And I bet you he's a homeowner.
It, right?
You ain't worried about rent.
He's a homeowner
3-4 times.
3-4 times over. But he's going to tell you the
care.
story of him being experiencing homelessness as a child, so that he'll act like he is empathetic. But it's like, then why are you trying to convince people who are telling you the rent is too damn high that it's okay, because we really do have rent control in the city of Sacramento? So if we had done that, let's be clear about the numbers. 2,500 people experiencing homelessness in 2013, 10,000 by 2022. If we had passed rent control 4 years ago when we only had 3,900 people on experiencing homelessness, we probably could have staved off a good portion, because the majority of the rent increases and the cost of housing going up happened during the pandemic. Cause equal effect. Like, this is the line. And so to have him try to repackage this after losing his city council seat as like, I'm the new thing, is wild to me. So when you're talking about middle class issues, those are the middle class issues. We need to have a suite of packages. I've signed on to Sacramento Forward because it's a suite of policies that can help us to be able to address the cost of housing. And that helps us to make sure that we have a middle class.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Seriously, I didn't know none of that history on that.
Yeah, and along the lines of housing, I know what's important for me, because I was a single mom, a single Black mom. So, what are you going to do about home ownership for single Black mothers?
I just feel some of that, okay. Back and forth.
Well, I appreciate that question, because I'm really big on economic equity. And so a lot of these policies that we talk about, sometimes I don't like to have an opinion because they have never helped me. And so to your point, Rolanda, about what are we doing to help the middle class, I think that we need to find and support policies and programs for those that are in that middle area that don't qualify for the things on this end or that end.
Yeah.
And so I think about, you know, when I was busting my tail, going to college at Sac State, I needed childcare. And I went to the childcare center on campus, and they were like, you're not eligible unless you go get on welfare. And I was like, come again? So I'm going to school full time. I don't have no income. So I'm getting student loans. So you're telling me that the only way that my child can go to this child care center is if I go get on welfare. And so that really changed my perspective, but it's the system that we live in that has continued to keep us in a space, in a place, and I call it the $1 trillion industry of poverty. So we have to understand that we all have a place in this economic machine that we live in, and poverty is an industry.
Period.
And so even when I think about when I became a single mom, I bought homes when I was married. I lost business, so I had to become a first-time home buyer all over again. And then when I think about even going through that process, I had income, but it's like, so I'm calculating what I needed for a down payment, but I didn't qualify for the programs on this end. So that's the middle class that I'm like, so you're doing kind of good, but you ain't doing that good. Right. You still need, so then you got to do what you got to do to make it happen. So that's the problem that I have with a lot of these policies, that it's not helping the middle class get ahead. It's pulling the middle class into poverty because you don't qualify for any of the programs that have been put online. And that's where we need, even affordable housing. Affordable housing is not affordable at all. But the people that are trying to, like, if you or I were trying to just build an ADU in our backyard, if our income, like, think about some of the programs, the grants for ADUs. So we got a house, and it's like, okay, now you got these grants for ADUs, but my income is this. So you're telling me that I don't qualify. So how is any of this helping? And so my thing is, how do we target the things that could help us get there, but we don't qualify, so it's taking us there. And that is what is contributing to more people falling into poverty. And then the step beneath poverty is what? Homelessness. And so that's my focus around economic equity, because we, Black women, we're doing well. We're owning businesses at record rates. We are graduating from college at record rates. We are educated. So what is anyone doing to help us go from middle class to well, to very well, and then we know all that's next. We need more of that, because we're creating jobs, we're creating businesses, we are critical to our neighborhoods and our communities. If only we were eligible for a lot of these billion-dollar programs, trillion-dollar programs at a national level to help us get to that next level.
And at a local level, there are some things that we can specifically do. Number one, I'm really in support of creating a public bank. If you don't know, it's a little bit like a credit union. The only state in the country that has one is North Dakota. And they have done so much better, because what happens is, instead of banking with a private entity where all of your interest rate that you pay in when you're paying interest on your mortgage, on your whatever, goes to some private shareholders and builds their wealth, instead that goes and gets reinvested in your municipality. So not only can the city offer lower interest rates for you when you go to buy your homes, but then all the money you pay in is actually being reinvested in the very community you live in. Yeah. So it means that you can spend more money because you have more money, because you're able to offer loans. You know, when the city pays for things, you don't have to charge yourself anything. So it's amazing what your tax dollars at work, and then also your dollars being reinvested if you do your mortgages and things with it. So that was a proposal that's come up with Sacramento Act. We've been working on it, and I'm really in favor of the city setting that up to Veronica's point, because it allows us to be able to help more families. I'm also really interested in that missing middle, right? So Veronica is absolutely right. We have all these things that we focus on for affordable housing, but the moment you're $1 over that limit, you're out. And so that means that when we're talking about affordable housing, it's like you either are low income and you get this, or you're stuck with the market. And the reason why Black women are overburdened by the cost of housing is because we get stuck with the market the moment that dollar goes over. And so we're now paying 75% of our income to stay housed. And the rent's going up 9.3% every year. So we need something in the middle that's so that you're not spending more than 25 or 30% of your income on your housing. So you have an opportunity to have some savings and to be able, because your mom is going to get older and get sick and you're going to have to take some time off of work. You are going to get in a car accident at some point because those are the data, and you're going to have to pay out your deductible. Things are going to happen. Life is going to happen to you. We just don't know when. And so we can't live with no margins because we know those things are going to happen to us. And that's what ends up happening to us. We live shorter lives. Quite literally, time is not even equitably distributed because we don't get as much on planet Earth. So every time, even when we're talking about paying people $16 an hour, $20, and we don't get as much time. And so those are the things that we have to think about from a policy perspective, the city actually investing in to be able to make our lives better. And what I know is that when you do right by Black women in particular, everybody somehow or another ends up benefiting. Yeah, when you do wrong by us, it seems like, I really want us to have some equity review of the policies that come before the city of Sacramento to say who's going to be benefited by this and who's going to be harmed. Because I think sometimes people go in with good intentions, but they don't think fully through the things that they're proposing. And so we end up causing harm and part of it is because you only get 5 days, so nobody asked you. Nobody bothered to actually find out what you were thinking and hear your input to be able to tweak it a little bit. And if we review our processes and do things differently, we can actually get real community input, build coalitions, and actually have people be our partners to get things done.
And actually put the people who need the services at the table.
Absolutely.
So they're telling us what they need as opposed to us deciding at this level when nobody has been here.
Right.
And we make decisions that just keep other people here.
Yep.
So
absolutely. And while we were talking about homelessness, I just want to speak on safety for a minute. If you were to become mayor, I know people are really into defund law enforcement. I think some of them need to raise because I'm afraid sometimes to go places once the sun goes down. I'm afraid sometimes for my son to exercise outside. So as far as safety in Sacramento, a lot of people getting robbed at the ATMs. What will happen? Well, what is your stance on? Because I don't think we should defund law enforcement. I'm not one of those people who, cops kill people. And sometimes it's intentional. This could be racist, but we kill each other every day. And so I don't think we should defund law enforcement. What is your stance on that? And what will you be doing to try to make the city safer?
Is this both of us? Is this both of us? Or
either one, both of y'all. I'm not really sure. I know you're running for mayor. I know you're running for office, but I don't really know what exactly your position would be or what power you would have to do certain things. I know, so that's why I was directed to
city council.
Oh, well, bomb. So that's both of y'all. Then both of y'all can answer the question.
Well, I'm on the same page as you, and I'll speak for, many of the people that I speak to in District 2. When we look at things that are happening there, they feel the absolute same way that you feel. I think what we need to do a better job at, going back to the equity lens, is we need to do a better job at deploying the resources that we do have as it relates to programs for our youth, as it relates to violence prevention and intervention programs. Like, have we been good stewards? Have the players that have been in the spaces getting funding to do preventative work, are they the right players? Are they the right stewards that should be shepherding what we need from a prevention and intervention perspective as it relates to safety in our communities? I think that first and foremost, we need to revisit that, because oftentimes it's the loudest mouth that gets the funds, but not the most effective people that should be funded.
Talk about it.
But if there are not the right people at the table who understand what's really happening, then it will be the status quo. And so first and foremost, I think we need to take a look at that, because there's a lot of people saying that they're doing something, and you have the go-to people. The police will go to these people. The city manager will go to these people to be the voice.
We have definitely.
When it's like, are they really the voice of
Hell no.
what's happening in the community?
Not at all.
And that has to be disrupted. And it takes a certain type of person and leader who is actually in tune and knows what's been happening on the ground for the last decade in order to disrupt systems that need to be disrupted, because it's not just the institution, the white institution that needs to be disrupted. We got a whole lot of issues amongst ourselves and within our own organizations that need to be disrupted.
We got a lot of poverty pimps. I'll say it for you. I know you're running for office. We have a bunch of poverty pimps. We have people that recycle the money to the same organizations who's really not doing shit. They get lots of money, but the neighborhoods look worse. Crime hasn't went up. People are being raped. People are being sex trafficked, but people get lots of money to pretend like they're doing work because they have big mouths and people like that mouthpiece, but their actions ain't backing it up. Every once in a while, they'll do a little pop-up or something and get a kid some pizza that's going to make them obese and fat and have high blood pressure. They don't bring them no fresh vegetables and no stuff. I'm speaking as a big girl, so I know what I'm talking about. But we got people that get these monies because they are friends with people or affiliated with, or sometimes people just like that that voice up there just as a cover because they don't really want to know what's really going on. So this person speaks well, looks like they do a lot of work, and let's just put them up there to talk, and nothing's being done. So
they've also been doing it for like 20, 30 years.
I've been in Sacramento for 20, 30 years, and I don't remember none of these people when I was a teenager. I don't remember none of these people when I was in my 20s, none of these people when I was in my 30s. These people come from different cities, come from here, maybe went away to college, came back, and now they're the voice of the community, the voice of the youth, the voice of the women, the voice of the downtrodden, and they haven't contributed to anything. They wait till they get old, can't do shit else, and now they're going to become a advocate or some type of nonprofit owner to get funding, but they didn't put in no work to do anything else. I think that's totally ludicrous. I know people that do work that never get funding. They're out here, they get funding from white people, not from black people who control them purse straps. Because they support criminality, they support death culture. If you don't have a problem, if you're not downtrodden, if you're not being abused, if you haven't lost a child, if you haven't been homeless, if you haven't been a crackhead, if you've just been somebody going to work every day, going to school, staying out of trouble, you get zero assistance, no support. But they really support death culture, and that's something that has to stop here in Sacramento. I know I went on a tangent, I'm sorry, but just popped in my head. But I think the poverty pimps need to stop, and the people who support and endorse the poverty pimps need to be called to the carpet. They need to be called to. If you're in a position where you can help distribute money and you're giving it to poverty pimps, you shouldn't be in that position. It should be some type of board or something that oversees these nonprofits and make sure they're doing what they said they're doing and not just fluffing us up with words. That has got to stop. But the money should be going to where the communities that really need it. Somebody had to post on Facebook that District 2 got the most money out of nonprofits. And so I put a comment on there, and I mean, my inbox was flooded. I don't live in District 2, so I don't even know all the politics out there. But when I tell you, people was pulling out receipts from this, that, and so, I mean, it's definitely an issue and a problem. But Dr. Flo, I'm sorry, you can answer the question now. I don't want on a tangent.
She cleared it up.
She put the nail in the coffin.
I wanted to piggyback on your sister. District 2 is just triggered. Everybody's on edge. We are like right there. And Veronica, she was just the target at the moment because it's 9 damn people running for one seat. That's just overly like that is because you need a title. You don't even clean up around your front door. Why do you want this seat?
That part.
Like I'm confused. So Veronica, even though she had worked on the back side of it, people was targeted because their thing was she not from here. She not from here. Okay, that was my thought process. When she ain't from here, she don't know. It's a good thing she's not from here. It's a good thing because her lens is totally different because we're so used to looking at the same grainy thing. We're just spinning our wheels, right? But when we had the black man that was a native, he gentrified us. Period. Right? This was the black man. She worked for the black man. We can't hold her accountable because this was her boss.
That was her job.
She had to do what her boss said do. Did she think it was right? Hell no. But guess what? Now she's giving us where the bones and the bodies is. So now we're like, okay, now we go do this, right? But then she gets another hit. Here comes Lowly. He puts his back 10 years extra, right? She's still trying to hold on. And I'm thinking this was our life jacket because if she takes this jacket, we gonna die. So as I thought about it, I said, she was our life jacket. She was trying to do what she could around him to still help us, right? And so the people that's targeting her now is because they're thinking about the natives, but the natives has done nothing. They haven't been at the table. They haven't done nothing. She's already there doing the work. Why reinvent the wheel? She knows what to do. She knows how to, right? So when I seen, I'm like, I don't want her. I don't want her. I'm just gonna stick over here with my teacher, my vice president. I'm just gonna stick over here with her. But then as older seasoned people give you a different thought process, they make you digest it differently. She is not from here. We get that. She ain't lived here a long time. We get that. But she's worked here the longest. They just live here. She's worked here. She's done the work. She's seen the budget. She's seen the issues that we have, right? But when we all called her, she's never denied us. We've all called her. Veronica, I need this. And she's done it. So it's not that she never serviced us. She really did service us. Did she not be able to do all she could? No, she not power. She's a staffer. But now she has a plan. And the plan is something that we've never heard from all 8 candidates. No one has a plan. Everybody's running on the liquor store from 20 years ago. They're running on Ray Ray and Pookie, but no one has a plan. Right? Because she's telling us, if we do this, we can do this. No one's never told us to go mobilize to City Hall. When? But that's what she told us, right? Because they know that we can just get all the trash. And when she tells us certain things, I'm like, all this is coming out this little late life. So now people, the more that she's talking to the people and she's getting it out, they're excited to know that it's a plan and it's a platform for a woman that's Black that can help us bring some of this reality back. Because we lost it. It's all gone, right? Is she going to fix it all? No. We are so far in the red. She is not going to be able to fix it all. But what she showed is who's accountable. The county is accountable. Angelique is accountable. Kevin McCarty's been accountable. All the players have been a part of this demise stuff that we got going on. And for them to come to our hood and be like, I gave some turkeys out. People can get a damn turkey on food stamps. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not doing nothing. You get what I'm saying? So everybody getting out.
Oh, that
Like, now I'm like telling them, like, because all the people that were our neighbors, they're gone. Alan kicked that base out. It's a few here, there, but it's not that base anymore because now they're on that gray area that they say people don't qualify. Do they qualify? Right? We just got blessed because our grandparents owned stuff, right? We get behind, we would have been on the fence too, but Veronica is now showing us that you still got a little bit of fight. Don't just throw in the towel, because now we're like, we don't care, just do whatever, they gonna do whatever, we don't matter. But to see her position now and her talking and her speaking over and over, I'm like, I gotta follow her, I gotta follow Flo, because it gives you hope to know that things are gonna change. And if people follow suit, it can be different. Well, can make a difference for the man.
That's why y'all gotta, as we talk tonight, y'all need to contact your friends. Like, don't forget that still works. Like, you know, like young sisters and brothers, and tell them like, hey, I went to this meeting tonight, and these sisters is the truth. We need to be supported because men do what we ask them to do.
Oh yeah, they will.
We have that kind of power. I think sometimes we forget that, but we have a lot of influence. People want to know what we think, and I just haven't been hearing that a lot. I think people are kind of feeling some way about the political process, but it's not like being energized. Like, no, we got to get them a shot. We done gave the shots to everybody who got here. We can give them to these sisters right
that
here.
part.
Let me hit her than you real quick. She was so patient. Yes.
Oh, me? Oh.
Yep.
I just want to say something about what I saw. I want to commend you because I personally saw when I posted her on the Sister Sacramento Sister Circle page, and there was negativity. And so to see you here now, and the fact that y'all were able to communicate and come together. I think I was at our fundraiser and I saw your name. I'd never met you before, so it's really good to meet you too. I saw your name come across. I was like, what the hell? He was like, oh yeah, we talked. I'm like, well, look at God. Like, I want to commend you for like even saying I was wrong. And then having a conversation, like that's part. And I think District 2 has the most relations in like in regards to Black Rubik community.
Mhm. Yeah.
So the fact that you're able to do that in this moment, because obviously District 2 is popping and they got something that y'all want.
Mhm.
Because it would not be going down if it wasn't,
Right.
if it wasn't, like,
Correct.
it's something else.
I mean, I think part of it is money, because a lot of the people that's running are like unemployed, you know, so it's like a motive still. Real estate. We don't want to hear no more real nothing. Don't spell the word in the like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we just don't want. We're just triggered, and so now Veronica is really the clean one. Not saying that she's perfect. She got a path. Trust me, everybody do. But the thing of it is, she has no. She's not coming in for real estate. Her husband ain't in real estate. She's not coming in to bring. You know, like, it's just. We're just so sick of something that you're doing for yourself. We want something too. We want a product, like, we want stuff too. And don't get it twisted. We did have all that. We did have everything. We were the ones, Oak Park and the Heights, we would battle because we were like, they got we got so it was a battle. But they had a lot of stuff.
That's true.
That's why I never understand why we can't build out the corridor, because I'm like, we can actually get people. If somebody's at the convention center, the only place they can actually get is through Del Paso. I'm like,
so it's just, so that's where I'm at. And so for Veronica to even have the tough skin, because we are not an easy community. We ain't nice, we rude, we're mean, but we won't take it out in the city. We use her, people like her as a target.
No, I saw it from afar. I didn't even know. And I was just like, well, this is my nigga. We about to run a play.
That's how it is, because you guys have relationships, but we didn't have, like, Flo ran, we was like, I wish it would, right? Because instantly, because we felt her vibe, like, we with her, right?
Well, and it was the same with Flo. I had this, Flo's been part of the sister circle from the very beginning. The voter guide, she's been the one doing the voter guide. I'm struggling doing the damn voter guide, but y'all don't follow that. That's crazy. But I'm just saying that's because there's relationships. So I'm so happy to see y'all been able to do that at this moment.
Right.
Like, it is so pivotal.
And I want to say one more thing. Sometimes disagreeing doesn't mean you don't like somebody.
That's right.
Sometimes giving your perspective or your point of view doesn't mean I'm dogging you out or I'm putting you down. It's just I don't understand. I don't know who you are. I have questions. Y'all know I'm very vocal. I speak my mind. I'm a Taurus. I'm gonna say what I got. But sometimes people, oh, you're so negative. No, I have a question, and I don't know who you are, and I'm not coming in being negative. But sometimes questioning isn't always negative. You just want information.
Yeah.
And sometimes people, go a little bit too far and they start assassinating your character. But sometimes
and that's what I'm talking about. Because I think we're hardest on each other.
Yeah, we definitely are harder, but. Can't nobody else be harder on me because y'all my sisters. Can't no white woman come in here and be hard on me. And I'm not saying sometimes hard could be good or bad, but I would want my sisters to be hard on me or fix my crown or pull my coattail, because that's what we do. We may be upset for 2-3 days, and then we, or it could be 2-3 months. I hold a grudge.
But that's different than what we've been seeing.
See, I don't even be in there like that because I probably get on there and start cutting people out.
I mean, it was nasty. I mean, I don't know about Flo, so I think we were mad more than her because we were like, she the only woman. We started taking it like personal for her because she was a Black woman. Y'all mad? She skill set. Y'all know she was dominant. Y'all looked at her demeanor and think she was so smart, but she putting y'all in the shame, right? So then it went to that with her. Then Veronica more was. We was just triggered. Every little anything is just triggered. I mean, right?
She's just catching the bullets for everybody. That's what
bad. And now we still fight. Like, who going? So now we're fighting now because we like Veronica needs to apply to be an interim. So now the mayor's opening it up so anybody can apply. So it's like a big mess. So we got like more shit going on to try to get her in this seat, right? Because the council is making all the decisions for us. Like, we the people, not y'all. Y'all don't have to live. We live here, right? So now I'm like,
and it's only 60%. When I heard that District 2 was only 60% Black, I was floored. Wow. We have no Black communities in Sacramento.
That's what I was.
We were the last one. I think we were the last thing scanned.
60%.
But I also think a house divided against itself cannot stand. And I think that we got to really get back to that. That's why even with these 9 people, and 4 of them is Black women, like, y'all don't sit down and have some damn coffee and come up with a plan.
But we did. That's what we did. We ended up having to reach out. I reached out and was like, won't you guys just like vote your 10 up, let Veronica be the forerunner, get room, because y'all don't know how to move in there because you guys are blindfolded. You don't know what. She does know how to maneuver. Y'all get in there and it's going to be all clear.
I get that. Let me just be very honest. One of the things I know about Black people, we still love honey.
Yeah.
I would never tell somebody to pull their hair.
But I would say they're not even.
But my thing is, one of the things we have not here, we have something called fight. we will fight for stuff even when it's wrong. That's what we are right now. We're fighting for every black person getting killed out here on some bullshit, and we got real people getting killed. Nobody's showing up for them.
Yeah.
So we be doing the fight now upside down.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is at some point we have to, if we say we together, that's what I said, I don't think we're always together. We like to use we a lot, but sometimes we don't be we because I ain't with that we. I'm over here with me. So I just feel like there's a way, I still believe in honey. There's one person that's running who's an elder. And I feel like if we had some other elders that can sit down with the sister and be like, look, you may not, because I don't think you have the energy for this. This is a real energy fight. Maybe you could help me on a committee. Maybe you could, because we never tell a person once you get in there, what you gonna need for us to do, sis, so you can be that powerful one. I never hear people say that. Because we're always asking for something. And then we usually don't get nothing. And then we ain't been at the table and we ain't got nothing that we ask for.
But you know, Veronica's also been showing us bedside manner.
I get that.
You get what I'm saying? She's showing us like, I can go talk to somebody. Like everybody I talk to, she was like, I'll go talk to them. It's nothing, you know, versus me like, I'm not wasting time.
She's here tonight. So what I'm saying, black people are very fragile.
Oh yeah.
We are the most hardcore people and fragile. And I'm saying like we used to get toughness. Yeah, we used to that energy. But I just know honey still works. That's all I'm saying. Sorry.
Well, I want to make sure I answered your question because I know you got to hear Veronica's stance. So my stance is this. I do think sometimes we are harder on ourselves than we are on other people. But what I look at is, right now, our police department has $228 million a year. And so while we've had this conversation about poverty pimping, and I don't disagree, we're talking about $3.2 million that went to our nonprofits and $228 million. When I was on Measure U and I asked the police department some basic questions, what are your goals for the year? What are the metrics you judge yourself by? How are you doing things? They couldn't answer basic questions. And we're giving them $228 million and we're calling ourselves feeling safe. So that's first question. I just have a question. Let's start there. In 2018, their budget was $147 million. So you mean to tell me they've gotten $80 million more over the last 6 years? Do you see $80 million additional of investment in our communities? Okay, now, when Measure U was put on the ballot, we were told that the first half cent was going to stay going where it was, which is mostly to police and fire and a little bit to Parks and Rec. And that the second half cent was going to go to inclusive economic development, which means building up District 2, building up District 8, making sure that the money is going to make sure that there are Black businesses and other things being seeded, that it was going to go to the arts community, and that it was going to go to affordable housing and homelessness. And the police took the whole bag. Okay? The police also opposed Prop 64, which legalized marijuana, but they also, until Measure L was passed, which is the youth fund, were getting the majority of that money too. And they're the ones responsible for having criminalized people. So my issue here is more so that you have a department that takes the majority of the money, can't answer basic questions, and constantly is getting a raise when they get a raise whether crime goes up or goes down. And what we've seen over the last 12 years is that every time crime has gone down, it's been them $3.2 million, even with the tomfoolery that has gotten us there. Operation Ceasefire was the first time we saw our violent crime rate go down. Then we dismantled that and went back up. Then we put together the Violence Prevention and Intervention Network. Again, $2 million. We got 2 years with no youth homicides. 2 years where no young people were hanging RIP on the fences of Grant and Hiram Johnson and Sac High or anywhere else in our city. 2 whole years. And right when the pandemic hit and we knew we're shutting down schools and businesses and everything else, violence is going to go up. We probably need to give them more money. We didn't. And so now we no longer live in a place with 2 years with no youth homicides. In fact, we live in a place where just 2 days ago, we had a shooting in Grant and in Woodland on the same day. And so then let's fast forward to now, we just saw a 40% decline in violent crime that even the police department is saying, because we put $3 million into these nonprofits that we're working with folks. So my question is, why is it that the nonprofits, again, tomfoolery even included, are somehow able to give us the biggest literal bang for our buck, but we're totally comfortable handing $228 million a year without an answer, without any accountability for those dollars? And so what I'm asking for is us to go back to the 2018 budget, because we promised voters we were going to spend that money on other things. And those other things are needed in a time where we have challenges with affordability. Those other things are needed in a time where we're having challenges with people making enough money. Those other things are needed in the time we live in, and $80 million a year could get us a lot there. Second So that's the first part. The second part here is that we have a Black woman who is the head of the Office of Public Safety Accountability. She's a former police chief. She's a nationally renowned expert. And she came out last June with the Fourth Amendment violations, showing that our department was doing things like pulling Black people over for window tint and never testing the fucking window tint, okay? That's how blatant these things were. And she was showing that this was happening over and over again, along with our Inspector General, who is a Black man, Dwight White, who was there presenting. And instead of our police chief doing what every other police chief in the city, in the country does, which is say, you rightly have problems and here's how we're gonna solve them. Instead, she got up there and said, this isn't a problem, that's not a problem, these aren't the cases, these aren't whatever. And the city attorney literally had to step in and say, we reviewed all the cases and they're airtight. Please listen. She also showed a video of a 10-year-old girl who was put in handcuffs when the police came to her house. That would have never happened to a white child in this city. So when I'm hard on our police department, it's because I expect a lot from an entity that's getting $228 million a year.
Period.
And you should be able to answer for me basic questions that the Youth Parks and Community Enrichment Department was able to answer easily with a fraction of their budget. That our nonprofits are asked to do when we give them $100,000. We want to know how you solve world hunger, how many people you employed, how you gonna flip over backwards, and I need a 30-page report due by the end of this reporting period. But the police department can't answer for me, what are your goals for the year? I'm gonna ask you again. And then my last point in all of this is, you know, when we're having these conversations, I want safety too. I'm the only woman running for mayor, and I want to be able to walk down the street. I experience safety differently than all of them. But what I also know is that the things that keep me safe are not you showing up after I've been murdered and solving that well. The things that keep me safe are an investment in my community being safe. They're the things that Black people have been advocating for years. We want to have quality education. We want to be paid living wages. We want to be able to afford our housing. That's what keeps us safe. When we have those things, crime is down. When we don't, people are stealing things and robbing people because they're desperate. And so I want to live in a community where public safety is not just, ooh, let's answer this on the back end. Because if I told you in 10 years you're gonna have a heart attack, but I'm gonna give you the best I'm gonna give you the best quadruple bypass known to, you know, cardiology. Your first question to me was, well, that's 10 years from now. Is there anything I can do in the next 10 years to avoid that fate? That's how we should approach public safety. Not who's gonna show up when we got a shooting and what's our response time, but how are we gonna have fewer shootings? And so I am the fund public safety candidate because I wanna make sure the money is going into the things that actually make us safe, not the performance of safety. And right now we are performing safety without actually getting returns on it. And that is a disservice to my community. So I completely agree with you. When something goes wrong, I want to call 911 and I want to know that the right person is going to show up. And I want to make sure that that person is going to be able to answer my questions. And it's really interesting to me that I'm going to get the heat for saying we should go back and spend our money wisely when LAPD union, the biggest union in the state of California, volunteered to defund themselves. Last March, they put out a report and said, here are 28 call types that don't require an officer with a uniform to answer to, and we don't want to answer it. We don't want to respond to these anymore. Somebody else should do it. That's all I've been saying for the last 7 years. So now the LAPD union says that they're not going to be called defund the blue, they're going to call back the blue. But when I said, why are you responding to homelessness calls unless you're going to adopt homeless people? How are you going to help?
Right.
I was being radical. I wasn't being reasonable. That's not your job. You're not trained for that. And I'd like for you to actually solve violent crimes when we put you on it, because you're only solving 4% of them.
4%.
4%. That's it.
So let me just say,
Go ahead.
You
Didn't even make it to the next one.
You explained that really well. You really did. But I also think you may lose some people because don't nobody care about that.
Yeah.
As a Black woman, I don't care nothing about homicide. Because that's not really two Black people killing each other. They ain't got nothing to do with me. I worry about the safety because I'm a single woman and I live in my home. Yeah. And if somebody breaking my home, I don't want to say, what's your mental health status? I'm going to cap this person. Okay. And they're going to have to check him on the back end because every 5.5 hours in the United States, a Black woman is murdered by somebody who looks like her. And I don't hear anything about that when we talk safety. There's always this other stuff. But that's not what that is.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about response times.
There's an equal and greater reaction. So we have to be very careful with those policies and what we're saying, because even if we take what's happening right now with the unhoused population and the crimes that they're committing against single women, Black women, that is not being accounted for in the statistics that are being reported by the police because of the laws that we have put in place that says that we cannot criminalize the homeless. So being behind the scenes, there's the story that's being told to the public, but then there's what's happening to the people that live in our neighborhoods, in our communities, by some of our more violent, unhoused people that is going unaccounted for. So I hear both sides.
So for this, I don't think it's a both sides thing. What I'm saying to you is, I want the dollars to be able to effectively deal with that, so it's not happening. And I don't want to just say, hey, let's improve the response times. So every time you call 911 for the same issue, we never get to the root cause.
But it's a culture thing.
Yeah.
It is.
We have a culture
Yeah.
issue within our police department because we know where the police department stem from.
And we know who they are. We know exactly who they are.
So we need to address that culture.
Yes,
I
we
think
do.
that we have to choose our battles because we know that while we are here on this earth, so for me, at least my perspective is, how can I make sure that I'm helping the people who look like me in the best way that I can as possible, knowing the system that I'm working within. And we know. So I just move, I know that I have to move a little bit differently because of where we come from as a people. And you can't reveal all of your cards because they're gonna shut you down.
Yep.
And so people, policymakers know. So if they give one thing on this end, they doing some other things behind beneath the surface to make sure that they're still gaining. And so that's what we have to understand and be mindful of from a policy perspective, that we can move a certain type of way, but we can't say things that other people can say.
That's right.
We can't do things that other people can do, but we can still make silent moves and make sure we're getting what we need to get so that we are not being penalized in the process when we think that we're gaining something. And we're not, because we don't know what's happening beneath the surface of what they say that they're giving us.
Go ahead, Councilmember. I mean, I'm sorry. I think it's important, but I also think we have to figure out a way to respect people's real concerns. Because I don't do, like, this is what all black people doing. I don't want nothing else to do with that no more. Because what I realize
You don't want to
is
be
that
part
it's
of
like,
this nigga.
no, I don't. Because it's more like you have to, and I'm tired as a black woman sacrificing myself for other people who have been terrorizing my community.
And now they advocates.
Since 1992 in my memory.
Absolutely
I'm so
not.
serious. I think we protect criminals more in this culture than we do regular citizens.
And we should not.
But we do. That's why you can't call
Even in the
police.
nonprofit
Yeah,
world,
even
they're
when you call the
supported.
police,
Criminals
well,
are running
we-
nonprofits and supported. Y'all can't tell me I'm tripping.
That's the culture stuff I'm talking about, because they can, and they do when they feel
And
it.
then Mariana got
And then when they turn around and say, well, we can't do this because of that, crimes are still crimes. And I'm so tired of hearing Prop 47 is the reason why we can't do. That's not true. It's just a bold-faced lie. Like they can do. They're choosing not to because what they want you to do is feel like, see, I need to go against those people.
Because
So
they're
the
not
police
doing
will
it.
respond.
And they want that
They are
policy
holding
to
us
fail.
hostage
They want
by
it to
lying
fail.
to us about what their actual authority is.
I feel that.
They're lying
feel
to
like-
us.
I-
And I'm
I-
so tired of
I
hearing it.
agree.
And every time somebody tells me, like literally, I talked to a woman, not a black woman. Oh, this is a white family who lives not far from me, who were saying they kept calling so much that the police said they were going to put them on a "we won't respond to your calls" call because she had an encampment literally on her front lawn, and they were using her address to get drugs back and forth. And the police were like, not only can we not do anything about it because the unhoused are protected. When did we legalize dealing drugs out of your, like, that's a lie. That's not true. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to say, oh, they're trying to build up the need for themselves by basically making it seem like they can't do stuff.
Okay, I get that part.
No, yeah, I
get
get
that. Sorry, go ahead.
I did really good by listening, y'all, because I'll be trying to talk a lot, and I gotta leave soon, so I'm gonna clap, clap, clap. So, let me, bullet point. Okay. When we talk about safety awareness and crisis prevention, I think we have a habit of saying in a very umbrella term. And it's important that we're specific because safety, awareness, and crisis prevention comes up in a different way for every age, every group, every class. And of course, working with young people, and I want to overlap on what you said, is that I believe we need more accountability for the leaders that are put in position who are funded. Where we are not, we are so thirsty for Black leaders that we are not doing the proper screening and the proper background checks. So it's until they've been funded and schemed the money and or have begun to groom and deal with our young people. And sometimes not even young people, grown women who are supporting those movements. The damage is done. So when I hear response time, I'm not only thinking about response time of a popo to the front dodo. I'm thinking about community response time and forecasting and having positions that are required to go through before you can even ask for a budget. And we don't do that. I agree on that. I want to change the disposition that we have in saying, what are you going to do? And I want to say, how can we support and begin to forecast moves when you do win your office? What can you recommend that we start doing now so that when you are in office and we don't just come asking, what are you going to do for us? But these are the seeds we have planted. Now we need your leadership to pour into them. Please let us know what we can do, specifically dealing with predators in positions of leadership.
Come on, Mariana, you go, girl.
Specifically working with youth advocacy, getting the mental health dollars and all of these programs that are, even though the budget is small, they're getting those dollars and throwing pizza parties with bouncers. What can we start to do
Community
now?
organizing.
This one right here.
The thing I would say is community organizing, and in particular, being able to come together and identify how folks are going to work together. I always think about this as the Friends model, which is, Ross, the guy who played Ross, he had done some movies. And when they came in to negotiate around season 3 or 4, they wanted to give him more money than all the other folks who were on the TV show. And he said, this is an ensemble cast, we should go in and we should negotiate together. And by the end, they were each making, all 6 of them, $1 million an episode. That was because he didn't take his bag and walk away. He said, let's do this as a collective, right? And he could have. And so that would be the one of the things I said I've been saying to folks who are working in the community is coming together and identifying how you're not going to burn yourselves out. How you're going to come up with a budget for yourselves where you can pay people a living wage and have the appropriate healthcare benefits and all the things you need and stay in your lane instead of every grant you write, try to say, I'm going to solve all these things and overstretch everyone. And coming together as a collective and saying, what do we need? So when you come to the city, and you should be asking, we do have a responsibility to give and to support and to invest in the infrastructure. But you can come saying, this is what we offer as a network in a way that's not gonna, and we don't have to be doing the nonprofit Hunger Games and fighting with each other. We've already identified what lanes and how we're gonna work together. And we're not coming alone. It's harder for them to say when every organization in the city has come together and said, here are our pieces and this is how we're gonna serve the whole thing. And then you don't end up, I think, as much with the pizza party thing because you're trying to, you really only work in, South Sac, but you're trying to say you can cover the whole city. No, you can't. That's not what we need. We need you to be in your bag, in your lane, doing your work really well and letting the person next door do their work really well.
So, sorry. And I definitely see where you're coming from about that, but I think what can the city do as far as checks and balances? Because what I'm seeing is I can only tell you from the field that I'm in. I could go into a homeless shelter right now and I can get assaulted. Nothing, there is no check and balance for that nonprofit. There is no check and balance for that shelter. I don't even have a number I can call on any city website to say what happened to me. There's no one to call. Absolutely no one to call. I could go ahead and say, okay, there's Roseville Road, just go ahead and open up a shelter. How does anybody get there? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
You have Florida encampment, you have South Sac encampment, you have another encampment that's opening up in the north area, funded by CityNet. Anybody know their number for Sacramento? Not even printed on their website.
But getting funded.
But getting funded by Sacramento. But nobody in Sacramento, nobody in the community of Sacramento knows how to contact this agency. Everybody says call 211. No, 211 doesn't handle that.
211 tell you to call 411.
Right.
Then they tell you to call 311.
Because they don't handle it. So what I'm saying is, yes, nonprofits do make a difference, but currently, there are absolutely no checks and balances. The nonprofits that we have are able to go ahead and do whatever, they say whatever, they tell you to go ahead, call here, no one, these people don't have nothing to do with nothing. And it's the lack of oversight. And there are so many people that are falling through the cracks and being re-victimized because there is no oversight.
Absolutely.
And I think that is a true concern that we're all trying to voice is how can you guys, what can you put in place so that there is oversight? Another example, if I'm homeless today and I go ahead and try to get into a shelter and I say I'm a homeless woman and I have a 6-year-old son. And then I can go ahead and say I'm a homeless woman, next person, with a 5-year-old son. That woman with a child that is 1 year younger than me will be placed in the shelter before I will. There are disparities that should not be happening. Why is it that if I have a child and someone else who has a child that's 1 year younger than my child, I'm going to be sleeping on the streets, but this person gets housed? So that's the things that we're saying. There should be some types of checks and balances. There should be something. So because it shouldn't be that I have to be halfway crazy, been to 5150 15 times, strung out on crack and a prostitute in order for me to go ahead and get services. You know, so and that's what we're seeing. And I think that what can we do? Because that has to change. Because right now the structure that we have for people that are in need, it's making them, we're re-victimizing people.
Yes.
And I want to just, before you answer that, thank y'all for being here on the hot seat, because like we just blah, 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 blah. You know, and so,
I was pulling mine out.
right? But you know,
I just want to say thank you. I have to go right now. I got a young adult that needs to be picked up from work.
There you go.
Ashley, I'm Floyd.
There you go.
But I do
She's
want
not off the payroll yet.
That's right. But I do want to say that about 10 years ago, working in partnership with Sister Rolanda, I introduced a concept called the Leadership Accountability Campaign. And I am looking you in your eyes, and I'm letting you know that when you gain your seat, I will do my grassroots initiative to get all of the organizations that I know that will sign up for that, which means we will have checks and balances for the participants that volunteered. And just like you say, if you want to check the Carfax on a car, you should know that if that community leader who came out and cleaned themselves up and now helping the community, you have the right to look up and know whether they've been convicted of rape, whether they've been in a domestic violence case or whatever. So I just want to let you know that I'm not going to ask you for nothing. I'm going to do my part. And when I come, I'll have it together. And we're going to get into some of these predators and making sure that every organization wants that seal that says back to LAC. The Leadership Accountability Campaign, so we know our babies are safe.
Yes, ma'am.
Amen.
Thank you, Mariana.
Thank you.
Huh?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I live in an apartment, but I'll stick it on my balcony.
Thank you.
I'm a creative.
Thank you, Mariana. Be safe.
And we need sharing, share.
We do have that issue with homelessness with our kids. So working with school kids, if your son is 13 and you're homeless, your son goes to a men's shelter by himself.
That's crazy.
And we're not doing that. So we sleep in our cars, right? But that's another, just wanted to say that about.
And if you're a dad with kids also, we don't have anything.
We don't
for
have
them.
anything for that. And so let's not even talk about pregnant teens. So that's a whole nother, but usually when my kids start school, I go to the teachers or whoever and I say, what is it that I can do to make sure that you can be the best teacher that you can be? So I'm going to say that to both of you. What is it that I can do so that you can be the best councilwoman and that you can be the best mayor? Because the issue for me, everything that we've talked about tonight stems from a lack of education. And be it civic education, academic education, it's about how we're not educating the people in our community. We have students that are graduating, and I work with them every day, and they've got straight 4s, 4.2s, they can't read, they can't write an essay. They are not equipped
Even out the
And
charter schools.
And
Yep.
it's not just charter schools.
So I'm saying,
She said even out of the
that are for us, by
But
us.
charter schools are even
Oh,
worse
don't you
because
say the
charter
name.
schools don't have the same restrictions
Right.
as schools. They fall under that, but it
And run
doesn't
it as a
work.
corporation, okay, sorry.
But we have students, and because I've had the opportunity to work across multiple districts and multiple schools, School A, the curriculum, the books, etc., exemplary. School B in the very same school district, not the same. I've walked into book rooms and the books are so tattered, the kids are trying to make sure they could at least have one cover. And then you go to other schools and the books are pristine because they don't hand them out to our kids. So how do we engage parents so that they can understand that that 4-year kid is bringing home is not taking them where you think it is? That we have to be more involved in our schools in a meaningful way, not just showing up and, oh, I'm going volunteer, but understanding what the curriculum is, that if your child is at a 10th grade level, what should they be doing? How do they compete in the nation? It bothers me. I've had several exchange students, and my children have been exchange students. And to understand how to be able to move. If I come to your school, I should be able to do the work. I should not have to go from 10th grade at my school to 9th grade at your school because the nonsense that you're teaching me doesn't transfer. And many parents don't know that. They don't know that some of these courses their kids are taking are not transferable because they're not, they say A through G, but they're not registered with California universities. So how do we get parents and students to understand, let's take our education seriously. We have people, it's annoying to hear parents, because I talk, oh, well, my kid's going to the NBA. No, what's your backup plan? Because the kids that I'm working with, they're coaching, the coaches from the Kings are working with them every day. And your
And
kid
they
is
still
sitting
might
over
not
here,
make it.
and they might not make it. But we
Backup
put
plan.
education on such a low level. Our kids have all the greatest tech, sneakers, all the stuff. But how do we teach them how to make that money so they can continue to have that? And how do we bring parents in? We just need to bring parents in and help them understand all of this, the financial stuff, our kids are drowning.
So what would your platforms be on education if you have any power in that area?
Well, we don't run the schools, obviously, but it is important that we have partnerships, I think, with the schools, which is why I'm endorsed by the Teachers Association and by Los Rios College Federation of Teachers, in part because I really do believe that there can be a partnership. And so some of the things that I'm really interested in are how do we make sure that we are preparing students for the careers of the future? Because the truth is, schools are set up to help you get a job in 1921, but it's 2024.
Right.
And so we need them to be able to have critical thinking skills. And I was reading an article in The Atlantic earlier today about how our sole focus on reading comprehension has actually made it so that we're not actually teaching kids knowledge. And so they're reading words that they don't understand, and it's creating issues as they move through the education system. And so how do we create more experiential learning? I was really disappointed that COVID wasn't that opportunity because we couldn't be in classrooms to keep us safe. And I was like, great, now we get to go outside and actually do some of these things. And we didn't, we just went to Zoom. And I was like, no, that's the wrong direction. But I'm really hoping that that one of the things we can do is partner with school systems to be able to think about how can we enhance the learning that's happening in school? How can we make it real? How can we make sure that students have opportunities for arts and music and social studies and all those things that don't necessarily happen in the classroom, but that we can also help support in the broader community?
Dr. Flo, I worked in the superintendent's office, and I can tell you that that's a great idea to have those partnerships. But if at the superintendent's level, I can't affect change, they don't want change. And so I feel like our partnership needs to be with the people who need this education.
Sure.
Because our kids are not, I'm all for it. Solar energy, I think those are things that we need to have our kids coming into, things of the future. But we're not providing that. if you look at the schools, if you look at the test scores across the state, let's do the city. Our schools with some of the lowest scores are walking around with their chest pumped out. They're like, yeah, we're doing all of this. And our parents don't have a clue. So helping us to understand what it is, because the partnerships at that level, they're gonna do all the right things. They're gonna sign all the right contracts. And you see people who are, I'm doing education this, but they're picking the schools that they're working with.
Mhm.
And if you're already working with an IB school, those kids were going to college. It has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
So how do we get parents to understand that that's the best that we can do for our kids? Because kindergarten to third grade, you learn to read. From fourth grade, you read to learn. So we're missing that whole thing because we're not encouraging. Many homes don't have books. Like how do we make sure that the basics are covered, because some of those other things will take care of themselves.
So let me do this real quick, because I'm gonna make sure it's a couple of people. No, I think what you're saying, Damaris, that is nothing they really can do about that. No, let me explain what I say by that. Because unlike you, I work in a lot of districts every day, and I also get to go to superintendent conferences, and I'm their presenter. And what their problem is with some of us is that we refuse to pull ourselves together to educate. Because if I was in a sinking boat, I've never asked somebody else to plug my boat. And I feel like in our community, we'd be sometimes looking for answers in places where the answer is not there. Because if people are that concerned about education, where your little group at? Go call the mamas. I can call people mamas right now. I got gobs and gobs and gobs of paper of people's, like they information sheet and their grade sheet. I call their mama right now. But in our community, the problem is we be talking over kids' heads and their mama's trying to survive. And so sometimes we talk this thing about education, they be like, man, get out of here. Because I know so many people with no degree who make more money than people with 2 degrees. And so I feel like all I'm saying is, Damaris, I want to get the other people in. I think sometimes that we'll be looking for the answer of what you're going to do for me instead of saying, well, let me do the parts I can do. Because if you say 10 families, that's going to help us. You're not going to get to the other 300. But I just feel like there's some things in our community that we must do ourselves. Yeah. Because we know each other. I know how to talk to a Black parent. I go in the house, the whole house full of weed smoke. I'm like, come on out on the porch, we got to talk this stuff. But it's just, that is really missing. There's nothing on the books that's going to make Black people do anything that we won't feel is important for ourselves. Because some people don't think that's important to theirs.
And that's
not a bad thing. But I'm just saying, I can't make them feel bad for it. I'm saying that we help you get your kid to where you think your kid is going.
But half the people that we send into our schools should never be in our schools.
Okay,
half the people that we have talking to kids should never speak to our children.
Yeah, but
if my kid was in that program, I would be talking to this but I'm saying to you, there's an opportunity, and I'd like to know from a council member's position and from the mayor's position, how do we generate? Because we're talking about policy.
I get you.
And we can't make school
but she just told you her policy.
School districts do it, but how do we engage? How do we elevate it to a level where education is on there with safety?
I agree with that.
Because we have to start looking at these things and not putting them under the table. We can't just say, oh, I know you. So, okay, Ms. Kelly and I, we've been working together. That's good. And our kids are doing great. But the problem but I'm saying the problem is, as a community, we have put education down here because we think, oh, there's people making tons of money without a degree. And that's true. But how many?
A lot.
That's not.
I'm saying, okay. now we're
but
talking
community-wide education, public safety, there's a role that we all play that we can't even talk to Flo and Veronica about. We want them to deal with a whole nother sector that none of us want to deal with.
But like what I'm saying, I want to give Veronica a chance to also address this, but one of the things that I do think is important is when I've gone into the schools that our kids are predominantly at, so New Tech, right? So going into Hiram Johnson and Grant. Burbank. What I've heard is I like the kids who did summer at City Hall, it was very clear they didn't have a good experience. And it was clear that nobody wanted them there, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that's the thing that changes if you have us. It's like, we're going to make sure that those experiences are good. We're going to make sure that if we are going to do a partnership to do something to be able to, make sure kids are job ready and whatever, that we're going to have those opportunities at other schools. But when we open up Museum Day, I'm going to be looking to see what schools got and what students got and make sure it's not just the AP and IB kids, but that everybody got the experience. Because just like you talked about the learning to read versus ready to learn later on, part of the reason why kids aren't learning to read well is because we don't start with the knowledge, that they have. So if you start them with, if they watch basketball every day and you start them with, this is a story about basketball, they learn to read faster because you're connecting the information to something they know. And so those are the things that we want to make sure, and what I think about it is this is a city where people do roll up their sleeves and get involved. And so I want to take advantage of that, right? So I want there to be some accountability, but when I was at the Urban League, we were doing reading day at Fairbanks Elementary School. And we were going there the first Friday of every month for 4 years. We would start with them when they were in kindergarten or first grade and go through third or fourth grade with them. And we were reading books and we were picking books that reflected the kids who went there and that were about their lived experience. And if they talked to us about the topic, we'd bring a book about that next week. And it was a way for us as community members to be involved. I want there to be ways that we're asking our community members, to Mariana and your point, like how you can help. I want there to be ways for us to be able to connect to the things we're trying to do here that are happening also on the ground. Like, this is not going to be one of those, hey, the city comes along and does things. What we're talking about is a partnership. And the government is not the right entity to do everything. Some things need to be done by our business community. Some things need to be done by our neighborhood associations. Some things need to be done by our community members. And so that's really the vision I have, is as a partnership where we're thinking about what are the things we can do and how can we benefit the city, and everybody plays their part.
I think I take it to the social determinants of health and impacting individuals at the individual level. We need to get back to more mentorship and coaching. So I think about, for me as a student in the regional occupational program at Valley High School, and having my first internship at the school district and seeing someone that didn't look like what I was from, that made me want to be that person. We don't have a lot of those programs. And so it really comes down to, it's a lot of stuff going on in the household that the parents don't have time to address because they just trying to figure out how they're gonna eat. So going back to economic equity, unless we are making sure that our parents are better equipped to have the time and the resources to be interested in what's going on in their children's school, it's not going to happen. So to your point, summer at City Hall. So through Dress for Success Sacramento, which I'm the founder of, we suited tons of hundreds of children to go into that program. But the people who were training them, the workforce development providers who were training them, allegedly, and saying that they were ready for jobs, clearly they were just looking at the number and the contract and the check they were going to get from the city if they put that child into an internship. And it was clear, if I worked with a child, that this child has some mental health issues. If this child goes into summer at City Hall or any of these internships, they're going to be set up to fail. They're being set up to fail. They will be fired because it's clear that there's some things going on that they are not ready for that. And so we need culturally appropriate people training our children. Just because an organization has been doing workforce development for the last 15 years doesn't mean that they're employing the right people to work with our children. To the sister's point about homelessness, I get calls about women living in their cars every day. So I know what it's supposed to be as it relates to the continuum of care. Sacramento been trying to figure it out since 2006. It's 2024, we still ain't figured it out. Clearly, we have a leadership problem. We have a problem with leaders who don't care. And so I do have a solution to that. It's like, call me, call the council office, because I deal with this on an everyday basis. It's not about when I get into office. It's about what can we do to help. And there's so many people that are Black, that are homeless, that are unhoused, that are not on the radar. Right. Because to your point, they don't have time. So we don't have time to wait for people. And so I get these calls every day to connect. I'll give people cell phone numbers out. Oh, you're not getting a response? Call this number. I'll take the number. There's a woman living in her car. I didn't got the same call. The people at City Hall said the first time, oh, we lost the phone number. So I encourage you to call your representatives, call their phone every day, call their staff every day, hold them accountable today. I'll facilitate, I'll do it. Then it's like, oh, they're not calling you back. Let me give you their cell phone number. Let me give you their boss's number.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank
who has
you.
not asked a question?
Tanya had
Here
one.
and here. You go talk to them.
That was good.
Mine has to do with housing, sorry, going back to that. So I'm currently suing my landlord, and there's a lot of protections out there for discrimination if you're black, your race, your creed. The rent cap, great, I need that too. But my issue is I'm dealing with a slumlord corporation,
Mhm.
and there is not an entity in California or Sacramento that protects me. My only way to right this wrong is to sue them. And in the process of me going through that, I'm now standing alone because the people that they done punked everybody else. I'm not gonna be punked, but I'm by myself. The news, that's my ally. Rick Jennings, are we still on Facebook?
Mhm.
He can kiss my ass, excuse my language.
No, we feel the same.
He literally, Mayor Steinberg's office has reached out more than he has, and I'm in your district. So that's a problem for me because everybody's telling me, well, you need to just get up and move. First of all, I can't afford to get up and move. Let's start there. But if I'm doing my part, why do I have to move? You came from Washington, wherever, bought up all these properties in Sacramento, California, and are not doing the right thing. You're losing rents, you got mold, you got it's a plethora of things, but there's no entity or nobody to help. I'm on my own. I'm literally out here on my own. I'm fighting a losing battle.
Mhm.
You know, now I'm the angry black woman, you know, and there's nothing. And then I have a sister across from me in the office. That's a whole different story, but she's not helping because
So
she's
sister
got it
that's
right.
not a sister.
Right. So now when I'm talking to you, oh, you're aggressive. No, yeah, I am. And what?
I'm pissed.
So my thing is, with all the things with the rent control and all that, what about those of us that are here, that are renting? There's no protection for us. We don't have nobody to go to.
So I can tell you what the problem is and also what the solution is. So, and you know, of course, this is complicated. So I first want to say, I'm really sorry that this is happening to you. Earlier last year, there was a tenant anti-harassment ordinance that was being seen before the council. And everybody who took money from the California Apartment Association voted it down. And everybody who didn't voted it up, right? So the challenge here is that, unfortunately, we haven't had a council composition that has been willing to take on these issues. And you're absolutely right. There's not an entity that you can go to protect you, which is why I'm signed on to Sacramento Forward, which is a suite of policies that includes things like renter protections and making sure you have someone like an ombudsman to be able to actually help you navigate if you end up in a dispute with your landlord about them not doing the things they're allowed to do. Because I work in policy. And so one of the things that we always know is passing a policy is the first step. Implementing it and enforcing it is the second part. And we do a great job. Every year, the legislature and the city pass tons of policies. But do we actually follow up to enforce them, especially when they're good policies that actually will protect people? And in this case, we didn't dedicate the resources to actually make sure people stay housed. And that's the other side of the rent control. It's like also making sure that when there's a dispute, that your rights are protected. Because when people are telling you to move, that's the expedient thing to do. And that's what a lot of people do. Or they'll leave and have this eviction on there. That's not right. And so your experience, you're not the only one. And it has been something that has come up a lot in that people are not being protected because we don't have the follow through for how we implement the protections that do exist. As a Black woman, you are protected. As there's all these things where even if somebody wants to raise rent or move you out, they have to give you they have to be moving in. They can't just do there's all of these rules, but you are on your own to figure out how to force somebody, often an entity with more money and time than you, to be able to get them to do right.
Right. That's big for me because I feel like myself, somebody's getting the kickback. There's a reason why this particular company, Avenue 5, can do the things that they're doing. You're raising rent. You're not giving people notice. You're literally
illegal.
Missing rent. Oh, we can't find your money order. What are you talking about? And then, okay, well now we want you to come back and pay us. So like, it's on top. And everything is like, oh, well, you need to, well, no, I'm sorry, I'm not. So we just gonna see how this gonna play out. So, but I don't feel like suing. I got a competent attorney who's gonna go to bat for not just me. It's 50 other people in the two complex. So this thing is bigger than me. But it's just like the mayor's office is like, well, oh, call here, call there. And I'm like, dude, you're not answering my specific question. So that's why I'm just concerned that when we're speaking about housing, there's that niche in there that we're not protected. It's like, deal with this or go be homeless.
Yep.
And be thankful you're not homeless. And because you're not homeless, we get to do this, this, and this, and what you gonna do? So that's why I just wanted to.
I got a question after this about the HOA, but I'm gonna wait, because I feel like they be harassing me. Go ahead, this is all for this right here, but go ahead. Oh, I hate you.
So we probably don't have enough time on this
Okay.
segment, but I think it always depends on what type of housing you're dealing with, because the laws don't apply across the board, if we're being honest. So it depends on, you know, is it market rate? Was it traditionally affordable? And now the affordable period has expired, and now they're trying to transition it from being affordable to market rate. So there's a lot of different factors that factor into what's happening. And so I'm always like about tackling things at an individual level and educating, empowering, so that you know what is really happening and what recourse you have versus what recourse you don't have, because you don't have a lot of time. And this is why the home ownership and empowering us to be homeowners is so important, so that we don't have to be in situations like this, beholden to someone that can just do whatever they want, depending on the circumstances. Because at the end of the day, we do live in a capitalistic society. So there's only so much that we can do.
And homeowners have so many protections, to Veronica's point, about like if you're having trouble paying, you know, like there's all these other things that you get protections on that don't often apply to renters. For we can have a whole seminar about that.
My next community bank idea. Who else has a question? Right here.
I have two quick questions. I think they're quick. First of all, I want to thank you two for inviting me here. Thank you two ladies as well. This is my first time ever participating in something like this. I always seen things like this and thought they were fake. So I really appreciate being here. So you guys have been, just being open. I really appreciate that. But my number one question to you guys, last year my daughter was in a lift where someone attempted to kidnap her. What are your stance on the prostitution that's going on, the pimping and pandering, the sex trafficking? What are your stance? Not what are your stance? I know everybody's against this, so that's a stupid question. So what are, if anything, what do you guys plan to do about that once you guys are in office? And then my second question was something that she mentioned that I've been thinking the whole time. When people see us, they take our passion and they use words like she say, angry Black woman, or just use it as an example. If that has been said, because I don't follow you guys like the rest of them, I have seen you guys on my cousin's Facebook, but if that has been said about you guys, what do you say to that? What do you say to that? Because I know that's something that they always say about us. It could be just because I know my face, I don't smile a lot. So people just assume but I'm far from, I'm a very, no, right? So what do you say to that?
I say.
You hear that a lot in politics. She's angry. It's always directed towards.
Yeah, I'll answer the first question.
Okay.
No, you go first.
Like over time. I'll start with, I am angry. And I'm a human being, and I think it's refreshing for somebody to not be sitting in the middle of a fire going, everything is fine.
Yeah.
Like, I think I'm reflecting the energy, and what I found in my campaign is that it has resonated beyond just Black people who are also experiencing the same thing. But there's other folks who are like, this is messed up, and I feel seen and heard by your anger. So, I embrace that that we contain multitudes, And I think I smile and experience joy as much as I also am a human being living a human experience. And that involves a lot of emotions, and I'm comfortable sharing them. So I just refuse to allow people to weaponize my humanity against me. And I think we are I mean, there's still obviously major hurdles in people's perceptions, and people decide who they're gonna, vote for based on those perceptions. But I also think authenticity is part of people's assessment of whether they can trust you. And if you seem too guarded and too whatever, people go, you're saying all the right things, but I just don't know if I trust you. And so it's too much energy to try to pretend to be somebody else. Right. So I show up as myself. That's right. And because I said this earlier today, like I have to go to bed and sleep with myself. And so I'm not going to compromise my values, and I'm not going to, be somebody else. And that doesn't mean I can't, code switch in different environments and say things maybe a little bit differently than I would in an environment where I'm comfortable. But I don't want to walk away feeling like I wasn't myself in a space. Right. And if I was upset, then I was upset. And there's not a human being alive who hasn't experienced anger at some point because of an injustice or because something was frustrating. To your first question about sex trafficking, this really bothers me because I live right a block away from Stockton Boulevard. And so I see girls who look like me who are outside being trafficked. And I'm really frustrated that we have a sheriff who has decided recently to put out a proposal that we're gonna criminalize victims of sex trafficking, because that makes it so that people are even less likely to report, right? That's counterproductive. It goes against everything we know about public health.
And it's going backwards. It's going back to some failed policies.
Absolutely. And so there are women in this community who are doing this disruption work, who are outside at night trying to stop things and trying to write. And so I want to make sure that those folks are getting support. I know Councilmember Guerra put at some point in the Measure U budget like $90,000 towards sex trafficking, which was not a lot, and I could never get quite answers about what were the metrics. Again, I'm big on what are we getting for this money we're investing, and is it enough? Because I'm not always asking to say I'm gonna take it back. I'm asking to say am I getting something good? I want to make sure it's protected, or are we getting nothing from it and we should spend it over here because it's better? And so that bothers me the most, because we're coming up on Super Bowl Sunday weekend, and that is the biggest sex trafficking weekend in the country. And I'm thinking about these events and the ways that we are in some ways complicit. And I want to make sure that we're putting protections in place so that people are disrupting, so parents are knowing what the symptoms and signs are, so that they can also be disruptors. Because sometimes it's not that kids aren't coming from loving environments; it's that they are literally being groomed, right? And right under their parents' eyes, and the parents don't know what to look for. And so I think that part of the education and awareness and prevention is so key.
And we're glad that your daughter didn't get it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yes. I'm so sorry that happened to her in a lift. And I mean, the other thing is when we have these dysregulated transit systems, what are the checks and balances before we're getting in a car with strangers, right? And so, if we had a good public transit system, we wouldn't have to rely on Google Maps so much, right? So I think there are some other ways that we should really be thinking about.
We could have voted.
How we move, right?
Good job.
No,
yeah. Oh, y'all getting late. Yeah, what can we do to help you guys today? We love everything y'all know. But I'm just saying, what can we do? Just us.
Put these signs in y'all yard. No.
Tell people, put some signs up in your yard. Help us with phone banking and door knocking, and throw some coins in our coffers.
All right.
You can do a house party. You can share their social media. You can have a ballot party. The Sister Circle ballot voter, we're just on a cheat sheet. The election will be available on February 5th to tell you who we think are the best. I also just have to give my friend all the love, because she's been doing this voter guide, and I'm not even doing half of the shit.
That's what I've been using.
Shit is difficult.
I definitely use our voter guide.
So the fact that you're gonna have something, you better not say nothing to me.
If people want, I'm just gonna plug. We're having Mardi Gras fundraiser on February 13th at Louisiana Heaven. So
I love the
we're gonna be putting out
okay.
the little thing. So if there are people who who want to meet us, like we both have events on our websites and things where they can come and meet us.
What is your website, Dr.
My
Flo?
website is flowformayor.com, FLOFORMAYOR.com.
Flow for mayor.
What time?
It's like 6:10, 8:30 or something.
30, okay.
So ladies, I just want to say thank you for making time for us.
Yes.
And I think we're gonna turn that whole city council on. Let's get it.
Let's do it in March. Can we can shock the fucking world in March if we all just voted and got all our people to vote. Like if we did that in March, they don't expect it. Some of these candidates are just now starting to campaign. They've been out. Well, Flo been out, and then Flo, like the people are been out for Veronica. We gotta just get everybody to vote. If we can just get people to vote, we can really, really make a difference. And I really think we should shock the world in March. I really hope so, because I'm tired. And I know y'all tired.
So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I know it's like,
Their sites up on.
yeah, I can do that on that. Don't.
And it's also on the material that I gave you.
Yeah,
You came in after I did.
And if you're not a member of the Sacramento Sister Circle, please join. We always uplift all the women these two women here and all the other women.
All comments on there too.
I joined in the beginning. I joined in the very beginning.
Like you was
I
good.
do. My mom is almost 70 years old and she be at every event. I don't know what the problem is.
She get out more than me. I be like,
My mama had to be at every event. Like, I can't go by that.
The other side is
Intergenerational.
I was like,
Thank y'all for inviting me.
Oh yeah, can we get one picture real quick? Thank you. I'll be so happy. Yeah, get the pictures in there, you know what I'm saying?